Warning: the following podcast contains violent scenes that may be unsettling to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
The post-Civil War landscape of the American West offers escape and opportunities to many new immigrants who come to the country's shore. A few of them brave the journey to the camp town of Missouri Crossing, each looking for a new lease on life in the Dakota territories. Join the settlers of Missouri Crossing, including Gregory Smith, played by Joaquin, Sister Margaret Miller, played by Monica, Bjorn Hagman, played by Chris, and Craig as the keeper of arcane lore, as we explore the horrors that await us on Down Darker Trails. The horses are brushed down and corralled, while the 201 cows are put to pasture in the fallow field. Dinner is a combination of salted steak, a few garden vegetables, stewed cabbages, and some of the remaining trail rations. A cheery air is about as real as the china that is laid before you in the long improvised tables inside the Burgess barn. As you might have guessed, with your large arrival, there's not enough people to have the dinner take place inside the small sod hut, but they were able to open wide the barn doors and extend some improvised tables into the courtyard. Pretty much the rest of you have been helping Mary Burgess with preparing the dinner, supplementing it with a lot of the extra steak that you now have, and you're looking forward to a nice dinner. So as you are kind of walking around preparing, I guess scene's on you.
Jorn walks up to Gregory and Sister Miller and is like, "Can we speak on the side outside, please? I'd like a word with you two."
Fine. Just don't hope won't take too long. I do want to eat sometime.
Oh no,
that isn't just beef.
Yes, I look forward to the meal too. And he looks at Sister Miller for a second. He's like, let's speak away from prying ears, please."
Of course, Mr. Hagman. I'll follow you outside if that's what you'd like.
Yes. And as I walk outside to where, like, like probably some of the horses are at right now, just kind of away from people. And I turn around and I cross my arms and I look at Gregory and Margaret and be like, "Do you wonder about what happened the other night at all? Have you thought about it? I know it's been a short period of time, but
it was, I don't know what the hell it was, but it's dead, and we're leaving it behind. As long as we make sure to keep a watch, it's not going to come back."
Well, exactly, and that's why I want us to all be on the same sheet of music. I think that when we do get to Missouri Crossing, we need to be on the same sheet of music with. And he stops for a second. You can tell Jorn's like kind of like trying to choose his words carefully, and he's like looking down at the dirt, and he's like, it may very well be on us to make sure that where we go, that this doesn't happen, and if it does happen again, that we're more prepared. Do you agree with that, or am I talking foolishness?
Margaret is going to immediately look at her feet. She's going to nod kind of submissively and say, "Mr. Hagman, I know you've been through a lot, you and Mr. Smith both, but I'm quite frankly worried that whatever it is that was may be something that can follow us. And if that is the case, then I don't know how safe we can be."
We can make sure to stand guard and have guns at our sides if we need to. And, we could ask about, I know I have a brother, he said there were soldiers nearby, so we could probably turn to them for help.
But that's where the difficulties, I think, lie, is the fact that we're going to have to convince people that did not witness it that it happened. And I know, and
we can just tell them the fact that we had 600 cattle, and now we have less than 50.
Yes, but it could be, and he stopped. You could tell Jorn's getting like not frustrated at Gregory, you know what I mean? But he's just like getting frustrated, and he's like looking down at the ground again. He looks up. He's like, "Listen, I've had experience having to explain things that don't make rational sense to people, and it doesn't fit. It's like two pieces of a puzzle that don't go together. Someone's wanting to believe in what is real around them, and someone wanting to accept what does not fit. Do you understand what I mean by that? So if you go to the army and we go to the army and we say, hey, there's this monstrosity of a creature that we saw that was melted after we killed it. Do you think they're going to sit there and believe you, Gregory, or do you think they're going to think you're a madman?
Yet the reference of madman, Gregory, you see like he sort of like flexes his fist a bit.
I am not calling you a madman, Gregory. I am saying they will think you are one. They will think I am one. They'll think she is one.
Then what would you have us say? Just, I don't know, a pack of mountain lions got us, wolves? What would you have us say?
It's not even that. It's the fact that if we want to do protective measures, we'll have to do it from within. We'll have to do it from within and with a rational reasoning behind it. And what I am saying, if we have dinner with these folks tonight, let's ask them as much as we can about the city so that when we get there, maybe we can get embedded into it. Maybe we can get in positions where we can control things that we feel will protect us from whatever that was, or more of them, or wherever they could be. Am I making sense here, Gregory? Do you understand what I mean? You showed leadership before all this happened at the camp. Every time that Freeman was gone, you took charge on making sure that things that happened. And Margaret watched out for people and their spiritual well-being. Me, I have experience being a constable myself. These are all ways that we can find to embed ourselves into this settlement that we're going to ensure that things like this will not harm us or others that we care for again.
Very well.
Mr. Hagman, I understand what you're saying. I had my own plans once we arrived at the official settlement to inquire with the church. Nothing too out there, of course, just getting general ideas about the settlement and the atmosphere around it. You know, every place has their own little, shall we say, haunting story that kind of carries weight to the society. I was planning on asking the clergy if there were such silly superstitions, and if something does match up with what happened to you and what happened to Mr. Smith, I do promise to tell you right away.
I appreciate that, sister. He stops for a second, looks at the ground. He looks back up. He's like, listen, I thought my days of a lawman were over, but after what I saw, I don't know. I think that they're not over. And I think that maybe it's my calling to take it up at the crossing here, to take up a role if need be. But I really think, Gregory, you should start thinking about a position that you could take in the city. All of us could take. If there's some kind of council, if there's, I don't know how things are governed at this camp.
Then let's stop flapping gums here and find out from our neighbors.
Always straight to the point, I suppose. I just kind of like smile at him and I like pat him on the shoulder. And I friendly like put my arm around Sister Miller to guide her towards the dinner. You know what I mean? And then just kind of like walk forward.
No sooner do you start approaching the tables than Mrs. Mary Burgess, not Mary Smith, arrives out the front of the sod and stone hut with a giant metal triangle and gives it a ring to indicate that dinner has been finished. She and Mrs. Smith arrive carrying just large serving plates of the steak and lots of the steaming vegetables. You can smell the cabbage in the air. The cowhands have pretty much finished putting the horses in the corral and putting the cattle at the pasture. One or two of them stays to watch over the now much smaller herd. And most people start making their way over to the improvised seating near the improvised table. William Burgess walks up to you, Margaret, and then recognizing that Father Noss is there, asks if one of you would be willing to do the blessing before the meal.
Yes, of course. Mr. Burgess, I'll be happy to do it. If everybody would please hold hands. So Sister Miller will bow her head and waits for everyone to hold their hand.
You get a few looks from some of the cowhands who really haven't done this for a while because it wasn't like a typical thing to do while on your journey, although you might have done it in private, but they kind of are good-spirited about it and kind of join in anyways.
She will make sure everyone is holding hands, and she will bow her head and close her eyes. Heavenly Father, we thank you here for the meal that you have provided for us. We thank you for finally allowing us to reach our destination. We thank you for the kindness that we have received along the way from Mr. Freeman, Mr. Baker. We thank you for the safety that you have provided to all of us during this treacherous trial that we have faced. And in your name, may we bring goodness into the world through this meal that will sustain our bodies and allow us to enrich our souls. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen, echoes several people, loudest among them being Father Noss. And plates are passed around, and everyone is able to dig in. So you're seated around the table, having a delicious dinner. It's just a very weird feeling to have like something improvised like this seems so formal compared to what you've been doing lately. Like a lot of you are eating off of like real china, and that's just like something that Mary Burgess seems like very prideful about. Tried to provide as much of civilization to some very road weary travelers. And then William Burgess kind of speaks up and says, "So, what is all your trades?" As he's kind of seeming like unsure how to start a new conversation.
Bjorn kicks Greg under the table gently to like give him his cue to promote himself.
A slight glare over at Bjorn. Just you can definitely see like the dark circle under his eyes are like lack of sleep, and they just, yes, I'm a blacksmith. I came here because the cities were getting too crowded with machines and things. No room for a man to make an honest trade.
Well, there's plenty of room for a hardworking man like you, and if you have that useful of a trade, you stand to do very well. And Mary,
I was hoping on that.
Mary is kind of nodding along with the conversation, and she smiles and says, "Do you know where you'll be set up yet?"
No, not quite yet. But I spoke to my brother. He's a soldier stationed at the nearby encampment, and so I know I heard some stories about some places, but I don't know exactly what's available yet.
Oh, he's with Major Forsyth then.
Yes.
I see. Well, that should offer some relief to know that your brother's in a position to be looked after and to look after other people.
Have you needed the soldiers a lot?
Mary kind of looks to her husband to kind of gauge his reaction, but you just notice like a slight nod from him, and she kind of takes up the cue and says, "Thankfully, not so much lately. You know, they're on the other west end of the river. They don't really come over here too often. Occasionally they cross over the Missouri, and I guess patrol on this side, but to be honest, we're pretty much left to our own devices out here, and that's kind of how we wanted it."
You say
Okay.
before. What did they have to protect you from before?
It's not really a huge concern of ours right now, but we are technically in the savage territory, and we don't have, let's say, official permission from our good United States government to be out here yet, but I'm sure all that will be resolved quietly and quickly.
Of course.
And with a mouthful of steak, William Burgess kind of like nods along with that.
So does the military, this Major Forsyth, I think you said his name was, is he part of governing of the city of the crossing, or how is it governed?
Well, again, to be honest, there's not a whole lot of local law around here at all. Being an illegal camp town and all, the soldiers set up Fort Lincoln on the other side of the Missouri, sort of like as an outpost, to kind of be protecting travel and trade along the frontiersland. But technically, as I said, this is Mandan territory.
Huh. I had to stop for a second. Like, so there's how many people are in the crossing right now, would you say?
Barry looks to her husband, who speaks up and says, "Can't be much more than 150, 200. There's no like law or organization as far as I can tell.
People just mostly keep to themselves.
Well, I mean, it's not like there's much out here to begin with. There's a few farming families like ourselves, but most are just young men hoping to earn an honest wage at either the mine or felling trees over near the river."
You can see Jorn kind of like eyes Margaret for a second, like what they're talking about in Gregory, like about the lack of governance, and then he looks back and he's like, "Where can this major be found at? Is he at the Fort Lincoln, or does he stay at the crossing?"
We don't go to town much,
Well,
but
I understand.
I guess mostly at the fort. If you're looking for some sort of leader, I guess it'd be Mr. Greer.
Mr. Greer, okay. Is he at the crossing?
At the name of Greer, Mr. Burgess kind of speaks up. "Oh, yes, Henry Greer. He's a local businessman of sorts."
What's his business?
He has the most profitable business in town. He's the owner of the Glasgow Silver Dollar. It's a saloon of sorts.
Oh, and I just stopped for a second, and like rub my forehead. I'm like closing my eyes as I look into like the remnants of the dinner. And then I look back up and I'm like, Mr. Burgess, please speak frankly. Is there a lot of drunken ruckus that goes on in that town?
I mean, there are many men with wages, and much of it gets spent at one of the many saloons.
What do these men spend? How do they get their money? Like, what trade is in the city? Is it fur? Is it farming?
A little bit of everything. I'd say the wood cutting camp and the mine are the biggest employers in town. There is a trader, this ugly guy named Old Abraham Marsh, but that's sort of like a one-man thing. There's the mine, though, has been stocking up on coal. They kind of figure that the railway might even come through here soon, but that's owned by some foreigner guy named Lord Pelham, but he lives in England, and we never seen him around here.
Thank you. Okay. Huh. I just gotta sit back like I've spoken my piece.
Sorry to be a bother, Mr. Burgess, but would you be able to give me a little bit of information on the local clergy on the town ahead? I'm trying to find the church so I can get established in it, and I'm afraid I have no direction. And Father Nas, Sister Michael and I are doing our best to assist. If you could point us in the right direction, I'd be forever thankful.
Well, Mr. Burgess begins, and he kind of looks to his wife, and he looks back at you. Then he looks at Father Nos and says, well, it is good to finally have a Christian presence around here, even if you are papists. But I'm sorry, you're it.
I'm sorry. And she looks quite shocked at that. Did you just say that there's no religious officials in the establishment? Am I correct?
He kind of stares at you, mouth open, and Father Nos kind of looks at you and says, dear sister, this is the opportunity that we've been looking for, I believe. We are missionaries, of course.
Yes, I was just a little caught off guard by that. And she kind of clutches her rosary around her neck with her hand, and now she's feeling a little nervous. So she's going to add, Mr. Burgess, you seem to know a lot about the local area. Would you say that perhaps the people in the settlement are not the most religious? Or is it just happenstance of chance that, there's no official standing with the church up ahead?
Jorn snickers a little bit after she says that and just kind of like covers his mouth.
Oh, well, you see, he begins, and Mary Burgess kind of like takes the cue again and says, well, I mean, most people who are good Christian families, they don't venture out by themselves into strange new lands. We're, again, one of the few. But I do believe that it is something that's sorely missed in this town. I can't say for certain why an individual or group of people might not be seeking God in their lives, but we have quite a diverse population that is starting to build up here. It's, mostly good Protestants like our family, but there are quite a few German immigrants, and there's some Cornishmen that work the mine. They got all kinds of stories.
And Sister Miller, it's probably going to be a town full of ruffians. I'm sure Miss Burgess here is being polite and selective with her words. I would assume there's a reason why they live so far outside of town. Am I incorrect about that, Miss Burgess?
She kind of smiles, but if you want to give a psychology roll.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that here. Give me a second. So I got a 9, and my psychology is 50.
So first off, check that. Was that a great or excellent or exceptional success by chance?
I think it was less than
I don't.
20% or 5. What?
What's an exception?
1/5.
1/5. 1/5. 10. So yes, it's less than 10.
So
yes.
You kind of get the feeling, Bjorn, that the Burgesses are trying to be very polite about the type of people that are kind of found in around town, and not like talk directly bad about them. But you can definitely see that there's a bit of hesitation about going into town too often, or as like you probably have some sort of feeling that, like, at least Yeah, sugarcoating it. They're trying to attract more people there to make it a better place. But definitely, Mr. Burgess has had a few encounters with some of the residents there.
So I'm going to take a deep breath, or excuse me, clear my throat. And I'm going to look at them both. I'm going to be like, listen, I appreciate your hospitality and I appreciate what you think you're doing is best. My family, my son and I are moving here, no matter what. His family, and I motioned to Gregory Smith, is moving here no matter what. She and rest of her religious partners are moving here, no matter what. Please be honest with us with what to expect there. Because the more honest you are with us, the more that we can prepare. Listen, I used to be a lawman in my home country. Gregory served with the military here during the civil unrest, as did Miss Miller. You don't need to sugarcoat it for us. The more frank and honest you are, the better prepared we are, and the more helpful you are to us. So with that being said, I just gotta look at her.
Well, and at this point, William finally speaks up. You do well to keep with your friends and, barring that, maybe hire out some local protection.
Have there been talks of lawmen being hired for the town?
This really isn't under any American jurisdiction, to be quite sure. In fact, many people have made the trip out here to explicitly avoid being caught up in all that sort of thing.
Yes. And I just look down at my plate, and I'm sure people like Mr. Greer are probably most happy about that.
Well, his business is doing very well. So regardless of what you think of the man, and I'll let you make your own decision when you finally meet him, he's not someone to be on the wrong side of, if you understand what I mean.
I just kind of sit back for a second in my chair.
Margaret nods and looks at Mary. One more question, if that would be all right. We do have a small dog with us, and it's injured. I would like to see if maybe there's somebody that you could recommend in the town that can maybe assist us with just a little bit of canine first aid, if at all possible.
Well, we're kind of out of doctor as well, at least officially. But there is the guy over at the horse livery. He's a old ex-Buffalo soldier named Boss Thompson, and he looks after the horses, and dogs can't be too much different.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you very much. I'm sorry to trouble you with so many questions.
Of course not. Well, there's very little social interactions out there, and we are very, very glad to have visitors such as yourselves of such esteemed character. It's definitely something that we miss from our time out east.
Well, thank you for the meal. I'm going to go outside and get some air. And I look at Gregory and Miss Miller. Would you two care to join me?
Sure, Mr. Hagman. Please excuse me. And she stands up and heads outside.
The men at the table stand as you stand as well.
Yeah, Gregory will also say his thanks and then excuse himself from the table.
So, there's not that far to go because you're pretty close to being outside, but you can go around the corner if you want to have a private word amongst the three of you.
So, your thoughts? And I just look at both of them.
Mr. Hagman, my first thought is we can't keep doing this. It's rather rude to just stand up and leave to have private conversations outside from our hosts.
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Miller. I just for a second look back oh shit. I didn't realize I was being so rude. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's different where I come from. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I apologize.
It's a little unsettling that the settlement doesn't have these key members of societies. No doctors, no lawmen, no clergy.
That's
something
what happens when
definitely amiss.
That is what happens when people travel far away from the cities to try and make something, get somewhere new.
Well, I think that leaves a gap for us to fill it in. Yes?
Well, that was my plan all along.
It's definitely a gap for us to fill in, but at the same time, not much of a conversationalist point of view for us to gather information about our previous subject of discussion.
Yes, that though, I think, oh man. And I just stopped for a second and I'm like, listen, this sounds like there's three very important aspects of the city. There's the coal miners, the wood, the lumber wood cutting, the lumber, and then that Mr. Greer. And then a fourth, the major, that represents the U.S. government. So those four, if we can win them over with ideas, then maybe we can make some headway in here. And one thing I'm thinking of is an official kind of lawman. I know we don't fall under the U.S. law, but there has to be some kind of order. I think the first person to talk to, that would be the major, and then the two business owners, other than Mr. Greer, because I'm sure they want to keep their people safe and their companies safe there.
Now, you got to be careful with that, because now I don't know how things were back in your home country, but back in Chicago, I found that sometimes men who make a lot of money doing seedy things tend to want to stay making money doing seedy things.
Yes, I agree. So I think the major is the first one. I think of the four that I spoke of, he's probably the less likely to be seedy, along with probably the two owners of the businesses. And then, of course, this Mr. Greer, who I just like rub my forehead. I've dealt with people like him before. I may have a way in there, though. I'm used to being, I like to be around places like that. Usually I'm left alone, and I don't know. But the thing that I'm worried about is you, and I look at Sister Miller. You're going to have to be safe there. You understand?
Don't worry about my safety. I mean, what could they possibly do to me? And she's very innocent about it. She doesn't think that anybody, could assault her or rape her anyway. She sees herself as a woman of the cloth who, as far as men goes, might as well be another man because, she's off limits. So she just smiles and waves a hand at you. Oh, Mr. Hagman, don't worry about me. I'm perfectly fine. So is Sister Michael and Father Noz. They're not going to target the religious people. It's you, I believe, and perhaps Mr. Smith and his wife and kids who would be, bigger targets, I think.
Jordan just looks at Gregory for a second. Like, are you going to say this or am I going to say this? Kind of look.
Gregory, he'll look and he'll just shake his head like it's not worth getting into at this point.
Just be careful, okay? And listen, so we got to make some headway. First, you're going to have to start your business, of course. You, sister, are going to have to set up your stuff. But me, I don't think my original idea for coming here might work out like it wanted it to. Not after the events of the other night. I'm thinking maybe speaking to Mr. Freeman and seeing if he plans to stay. And maybe with him and I can start some kind of security type company, and that can maybe merge into hopefully becoming official law or constables.
Well, if you want to try that, you could. I wish you luck in that.
The thing is, you're going to build influence, and he looks at Sister Miller. You both are going to build influence in the city that we may need to rely on. But us three, we have to stick together in all this. Our families and the important people, all of us, we're responsible for. If we three work together, we'd be better off and be able to protect them more.
At the mention of them being family, she nods and looks down at her feet again, feeling extremely guilty again about the thoughts that she's had about Mr. Bjorn and that he considers her family. She just kind of shakes her head, trying to get the thought out of her mind, and says, of course, Mr. Hagman, whatever you say, as the future policeman, the future lawman of the city, I will do as you say.
And he just stops. He's just like shaking his head. He's like, I didn't want to do any of this. I probably, who knows if it's even possible. If anything, the main focus is you two, and I can start building relationships. But the more influence that you and Gregory get, the more that we can actually protect ourselves and our families from whatever is out there in this land. And if that's a sign of anything that we came across, who knows what else is out there. Now, am I being rude by staying out here too long, Sister Miller, or should we go back inside?
We most certainly should head back inside. And if you ask again, I will not follow you.
And I just raise my hand up like, oops, both my hands, and I start walking towards.
As you come within visual sight of the table again, you see some people already started clearing off plates, but as you approach, the men stand again and wait for Sister Margaret to take her seat.
I like to imagine Jorn has like a pipe. I was thinking about that today, like a corncob pipe or something like that, So sure. I'm going to pull out my pipe and I'm going to start finally just enjoying it. I almost say like I didn't smoke it on the range at all because I didn't want it to get all dirty. You know what I mean? And whatever, like this is the first time I could sit down and enjoy it.
Sure. Yeah. You pull out your pipe and you see William kind of shifting through his shirt pockets and fumbles around and produces a wooden match for you.
I pull and I do the light it on my nail thing like cool people can all do that I can never figure out. and then light my pipe as I take a couple puffs. I'm like, thank you for the meal. It's much appreciated.
Yeah, yes. You and your party are most certainly welcome. he says, and then you kind of see Father Noss waiting for the pleasantries to die down a bit, and then he turns back to William and says, "So, Mr. Burgess, you said about a month ago you saw it." Yeah, a Wells Fargo coach came through here. I haven't seen it leave, though, so it's either still in town or continued on west. And with that, Father Noss gives an approving nod.
That's good. I take it as I puff my pipe and look at the father.
Father Noss kind of looks to Gregory.
Oh, yes. So we talked about something like that earlier. Just a small mystery I was gently puzzling over.
What could it mean, a Wells Fargo? What's a Wells Fargo?
It's I think it's a bank or something that's been getting more popular over the last few years. I heard like they send a lot of coaches and wagons out across the countryside just traveling stuff. What's unusual about it is that there's not much need of a bank here.
With only such a small amount of people,
yes,
right?
And what do you go? There's only so much you can buy in general.
Indeed, says Father Noss.
Is the government selling land? But this is not still official U.S. land, right?
I could not tell you. It is a mystery.
The three of you could actually make law rolls if you want.
Let me see here. My law's 50, so I'll go ahead and give it a shot. Oh, sorry.
I only got a 5 in that, so I'll give it a try.
41 out of 50.
Nope, I did not make that at all.
I don't think
84
I
out
even
of 5.
have law.
You roll it for like 5.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Watch, he's going to get a 1 and get an exceptional success.
New sheriff in town. Nope, 42.
Bjorn, you kind of gathered that because you did a lot of research on your trip before coming out here, because this is your life savings and all, you kind of realized that while land might technically not be for sale, if one were to lease a portion of it and work the claim for a while, say the land became incorporated into the United States, someone who had already started paying for the land and working it might be allowed to retain that land.
I think I read about this. It's where, and you could tell he's thinking of the words for a second, and he takes a couple puffs of his pipe, and he's like, where people will, what's the word? Would you, and he stopped for a second, where you give money, but you don't own, but you could still use, rent something. Basically, people can work the land and give money, and then when it becomes U.S. territory, then they will have money towards the land, and then they could purchase for the rest of it. It's like thinking for the future.
Law trickery. I never cared for that sort of stuff.
Well, you're sitting in it right now.
As long as they don't try to take my land, I'll be happy.
But whose land is it, Gregory, that we're going to? Do you not see the predicament that is going on here?
Rather than just sort of shrug it, like he is not knowledgeable enough really to fully comprehend the.
I mean, we can debate the meaning of taking someone else's land, but we don't. I mean, yeah. And he just like waves his hands in the air. I don't know. Is it right? Is it wrong that where we're going and it's not our land that we're going to, though? It's a mortal gray. It's ambiguity. Is that the word? Everything with the law, with no law, no government, no nothing.
Well, says Bill Burgess, if you do plan on setting up shop or starting a business or having some sort of home, you might want to consider it. There is this Jewish fellow that hangs out at the Silver Dollar. That's usually where most of the business is done around here. And he's, what do they call, one of those assayers? So if you did want to look into it, that fellow ought to be the person to talk to. Yes, says Mary Smith. And if you're looking to build, the woodcutters camp is in the mill, southwest side of town, near the river. And then she's looking around at her own house. Or you could try to cut your own, but the winter is a bad habit of arriving early here. And you can go with sod if the money's tight, but soon a tent won't do you much good.
Yes.
It seems like I should just build my forge into my house. Just for
Maybe
the heat of it.
Yes. Maybe we can all build in the same area. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out when we get there. Oh, I think I'm going to go to sleep. Thank you for the meal. I'll see the rest of you tomorrow when we leave.
Yes.
Indeed.
You are very much welcome at our home. Anytime, says Mary.
Yes, I appreciate it again. Thank you. As I go walk outside, is Mr. Freeman still at the table, or is he outside?
He's still at the table, but he's
Okay.
like kind of cleaning up his plate and helping to stack some with some of the other cowhands who have been who have just recently switched out, so a few others could, have a nice warm dinner.
I'll probably try to stay up a little bit to see if he comes out so I could talk to him, because I don't want to be rude, because Margaret said how the way I handle it in my European way is rude. So I'm going to either wait till a little bit to see if he comes out, or I'm going to just talk to him tomorrow morning before we leave.
You finish your pipe, and by the time you're able to finish your pipe, you see him kind of walking out, and you can get up and follow him if you like.
If Mr. Freeman, a word, please.
He'll nod at you, and the two of you are able to walk outside the barn and find a place pretty close where your last conversation took place.
I'm sorry again about what happened to you, and I understand the impact it's had on you. What are your plans once you get to the crossing? Do you plan to stay?
I don't quite know, Hagman. I was planning on staying. I don't know. I don't really think I'll have the funds to continue west.
I have a proposition for you.
All right, shoot.
You seem handy with the steel, yes?
I suppose.
You heard my conversation in there, and I'm sure you came to conclusions that I did about the state of this town.
Yes, but I am offered some hope hearing that there's a colored man at the horse livery.
What if I was to tell you that I'm thinking about maybe starting a security business there that may, hopefully, if I'm able to convince stakeholders, that could end up becoming constables or sheriffs of the town. Would you be interested in that?
If you have work, I might be able to take you up on it. However, from what I hear about this Greer guy, if he is running some sort of protection racket, he probably won't just give up that business.
Well, he can do what he does. We can aim to do for more people like us who are coming to start small businesses and families, to keep the drunkenness at bay, to protect companies or people who have valuables they need to ship out. If anything, you and I can become partners. We could maybe have an office built there, start working with the U.S. military or working with the lumber company or the coal company.
I mean, we could look into it. I don't know what sort of options we have out here, but I still have 41 head cattle. That's something.
So when we get there, let's see what we can do, okay?
All right. You look into it, and if it seems doable, maybe I'll consider it.
And I just nod my head.
Gregory or Margaret, is there any scenes or discussions you would like to have before people head off to bed for the night?
No, I can't think of anything. I think Gregory will dismiss, part himself and go off and sort of, stand guard over his own wagon until at some point he probably falls asleep just at standing watch.
Margaret would like to wash the dishes with Mary Burgess and maybe ask her a couple questions.
Sure. Well, Gregory, you take up your sentinel position by some of the wagons, and is there anything particular you're looking for, or are you just like trying to stave out that uneasiness because you definitely are being watched right now?
I think he's definitely at this point, he is, after several days of watching, he still feels watched, but he's he's more confident that, that it's not going to be another one of the smoke monsters that's coming out of the woods right now, because he feels like somewhat relaxed, as much as relaxed as he can get nowadays.
After all, you are kind of on the prairie, so if something were approaching, you'd probably see him from quite a ways off.
Yeah, there's only this just empty horizon, and it's like, oh yeah, I can see anything coming this way.
Yeah, so that does give you quite a bit of comfort. Sister Margaret, Samantha Smith, and Mary Burgess are definitely willing to join you with the taking care of the dishes afterwards. So you are welcomed into the small, kind of 1.5 bedroom sod house where they had kind of set up like a little trough outside of it with a horsehair brush and a couple of rags, and the brush is proffered to you.
Sister Miller will take the brush, and she's taking one of the dishes and kind of scraping off the excess food of what was left. And she kind of gives a chance for Mrs. Smith and, Mary to have a little chat. And then she kind of jumps in with, Mrs. Burgess, I was just kind of curious. I was planning of asking this in the town, but seeing as to how there's no clergy presence, I just thought I'd ask you since you and your husband seem to be so knowledgeable of the area. I was rather curious to see if the collection of peoples that are in the town are a bit eclectic or if they are all, and then she kind of leans in and whispers white.
Well, I mean, it depends what you mean by that. There are, as my husband said, quite a few Cornishmen that work the mines. Most of the lumber workers and people at the sawmill, there's some sort of Hanoverian type. You get odds and ends. A few of the Mandan come into town every now and then to trade, but it's kind of a little mixing basin over here, if you will.
I see. I only ask. I obviously don't see color in that way, but I only ask because in the past we've in the church, of course, we've run into different cultures and traditions having certain, shall we say, superstitions and things that are not based in the reality of the good book. Would you happen to have heard of any of the, local tales, folklore, and superstitions that I essentially will have to kind of fight against?
Well, sister, and she kind of seems embarrassed by the question. I mean, I don't often go there, but some of the Cornishmen over at Jerry's saloon cart, they talk about having to placate the evil spirits, and they call them knockers by tossing bread crust on the mine. But that's just old world superstition. There is a book that's been making its way around town. It's quite popular. Some sort of I don't know, some fanciful occult tome by this man named Buckman, I think. But I think most people are just into this sort of thing because it's fashionable nowadays. As for the locals, they have their own superstitions, I'm sure, but we try not to interact with them as much as possible.
I see. And this book that you mentioned by this Buckman character, where would one be able to find such a thing? I just like knowing, what I'm up against.
I don't know. Someone who could afford a book and have money to spare, I guess, might have a copy, but I don't get into such things myself. If it were me, such things should be destroyed at first sight.
I wholeheartedly agree. Well, I really appreciate it. I just have the jitters, how it is going into a strange new town and having to establish myself a woman of the cloth where there are, so many variables. I don't know what I'm walking into. I certainly do appreciate the insight. I'll keep an eye out on Jerry's Saloon and make sure if I come across this Buckman book to maybe have a peek and then use it as kindling.
I'm sure that would be a comfort to all of us, although I don't imagine a woman of your station spending so much time in that saloon cart.
Certainly not, but, I will make my rounds to make myself known and introduce myself to everyone. You can't have a church if you don't have followers,
Indeed, and as I said, even though we differ in some of views, we're just glad that some Christianity can be brought to this area.
Certainly, you can't have law without God, am I right?
And she just kind of nods her head and smiles, and Samantha Smith kind of smiles along with her, like just pretty much agreeing with everything that has been said.
If historical APs with a supernatural flair are your jam, then The Ultimate Evil is just right for you. With inspiration pulled from the Satanic Panic, The Ultimate Evil takes place in the 80s as 4 young men reunite to discover the mysteries that surround their childhood mentor's death.